Dhyana-Bindu Upanishad, coming from the Krishna Yajurvedaupanishads. Om. May he protect us both together. May he nourish us both together. May we work conjointly with great energy. May our study be vigorous and effective. May we not mutually dispute. Om. Let there be peace in me. Let there be peace in my environment. Let there be peace in the forces that act on me. Even if sin should accumulate to a mountain extending over many yoganas, it is destroyed by Dhyana Yoga. At no time has it been found a destroyer of sins like this. Bijakshara is the supreme Bindu. Nada is above it. When the nada ceases along with letter, then the nada-less is the supreme state. The yogi who considers as the highest that which is above nada, which is anhata, has all his doubts destroyed. If the point of the hair be divided into 100,000 parts, this nada is one half of that and still divided. And when even this is absorbed, the yogi attains the stainless Brahman. One who is of firm mind and without the delusion of sensual pleasures and ever resting in Brahman should see like the string in a rosary beads all the creatures existing in Atman, like the odor in the flowers, ghee and milk, oil and gingerly seeds, and gold in quartz. Again, just as the oil depends for its manifestation upon gingerly seeds and the odor upon flowers, so does the Pursha depend upon its existence in the body, both external and internal. The tree is with parts and its shadow is without parts, but with and without parts, Atman exists everywhere. The one akshara, letter Om, should be contemplated upon as Brahman by all who aspire for emancipation. Prithvi, Agni, Rigved, Buh, and Brahma, all these are absorbed when Akara, the first Amsa of Pranava, becomes absorbed. Antariksha, Yajurved, Vayu, Bhuva, and Vishnu, the Janadharna, all these are absorbed when Yukara, the second Amsa of Pranava, becomes absorbed. Dayur, Sun, Samaved, Shuva, and Mahashabara, all these are absorbed when Makara, the third Amsa of Pranava, becomes absorbed. Akara is of Pita, yellow color, and is said to be of Rajuguna. Yukara is of white color and of Sattva Guna. Makara is of dark color and of Tamoguna. He who does not know Omkara as having 8 agas, 4 pads, 3 shnatnas, and 5 devatas is not a brahmana. Pranava is the bow, Atman is the arrow, and Brahman is said to be the aim. One should aim at it with great care, and then he, like the arrow, becomes one with it. When that highest is cognized, all karmas return and do not affect him. The Vedas have Omkara as their cause. The Shwaras have Omkara as their cause. The 3 worlds, with all the locomotive and the fixed ones, have Omkara as their cause. The short accent of Om burns all sins. The long one is decayless and the bestower of prosperity. United with Ardha, Matra, the half meter of Om. The Pranava becomes the bestower of salvation. That man is the knower of the Vedas, who knows that the end of Pranava should be worshipped or recited as uninterrupted as the flow of oil and resounding as long as the sound of a bell. One should contemplate upon Omkara as Ishvara, resembling the unshaken light, as the size of a thumb and as motionless as the middle of the pericap of the lotus in the heart. Taking in Vayu through the left nostril, filling the stomach with it, one should contemplate upon Omkara as being the middle of the body, as it's surrounded by circling flames. Brahma is said to be inspiration, Vishnu is said to be cessation of breath, and Rudra is said to be expiration. These are devatas of pranayam, having made Atman as the lower Aryan, and Pranava as the upper Aryani. One should see God in secret through the practice of churning, which is Dhyan. One should practice restraint of breath as much as it lies in his power, along with the uttering of the Omkara sound until it ceases completely. Those who look upon Om as of the form of Hamsa, staying in all, shining like crows of suns, being alone, staying in Gama Gama, ever going and coming, and being devoid of motion. At last, such persons are freed from sin. That Manas, which is the author of actions, creation, preservation, and destruction of the three worlds, is then absorbed in the Supreme One. That is the highest state of Vishnu. The lotus of the heart has 8 petals and 32 filaments. The sun in its midst, the moon in the middle of the sun. Agni is in the middle of the moon, and Prabha, the spiritual light, is in the middle of Agni. Pita, the seat or the center, is in the midst of Prabha, being set in diverse gems. One should meditate upon stainless Lord Vasudeva as being seated upon the center of the Pita, as having Shrivata, a black mark, and Katsuba, a garland of gems, on his chest and adorned with gems and pearls resembling pure crystal in luster and resembling crows of moons in brightness. He should meditate upon Mahavishnu as above, or in the following manner. That is, he should meditate with inspiration of breath upon Mahavishnu as resembling the Atsi flower, and as staying in the seat of the navel with 4 hands. Then with restraint of breath, he should meditate in the heart upon Brahma, the grandfather, as being on the lotus with Gara, pale red color of gems having 4 faces. Then through expiration, he should meditate upon the 3-eyed Shiv, between the 2 eyebrows shining like the pure crystal, being stainless, destroying all sins, being in that which is like the lotus facing down with its flower, or face below the stalk, or above like the flower of a platen tree, being of all form of the Vedas, containing 100 petals, 100 leaves, and having a pericarp fully expanded. There he should meditate upon the sun, the moon, and the Agni, one above another, passing through the lotus, which has the brightness of the sun, moon, and Agni, and taking in its Harim Bija, one leads his Atman firmly. He is the knower of the Vedas, who knows the 3 seats, the 3 mantras, and the 3 Brahmas, the 3 Aksaras, and the 3 matras associated with the Ardha matra. He who knows that which is above the Bindu, nada and kala as uninterrupted as the flow of oil and resounding as long as the sound of a bell, that man is the knower of the Vedas. Just as a man would draw up with his mouth the water through the pores of the lotus stalk, so the yogi, treading on the path of yoga, should draw up the breath. Having made the lotus sheath in the form of Ardha matra, one should draw up the breath through the stalk of the Nadi Shushuma, Idla and Pingala, and absorb in the middle of the eyebrows. He should then know that the middle of the eyebrows in the forehead, which is also the root of the nose, is the center of nectar. That is a great place of Brahman. Postures, restraint of breath, subulation, and the senses, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi are 6 parts of yoga. There are many postures as there are living creatures. And Maha Ishava, the Great Lord, knows that they're distinguishing features. Siddha, Bhadra, Simha, and Padma are the 4 chief postures. Muladhara is the first chakra, Shadarhastina the second. Between these 2 is said to be the seat of the yoni, having the form of Kama. In the adhara of the anus, there is the lotus of 4 petals. In its midst, it's said to be the yoni called Kama and worshipped by the Siddhas. In the midst of the yoni is the linga facing the west and split up its head like a gem. He who knows this is the knower of the Vedas. A 4-sided figure is situated above Agni and below the genital organ, in the form of molten gold and shining like streaks of lightning. Prana is with its siva, own sound, having Sadvasthana and Adasthana arise from it. The chakra Sadhisthana is spoken of as the genital organ itself. The chakra in the spear of the navel is called Manipurka, since the body is pierced through by Vayu like Manis gems by string. The Jeev, or ego, is urged to actions by its past virtuous and sinful karmas, whirls about in the great chakra of 12 spokes, so as long as it does not grasp the truth. Above the genital organ and below the navel is khanda of the shape of a bird's egg. There arise from it nadis, 72,000 in number, and these 72 are generally known. Of these, the chief ones are 10 and carry pranas: Ida, Pingala, Shushuma, Gandhari, Hasujiva, Pushya, Yashuvini, Albusha, Kuba, Sankini are said to be the 10. This chakra of the nadis should ever be known by the yogis. These three nadis, Ida, Pingala, and Shushuma, are said to carry prana and always have as their devatas, moon, sun, and Agni. Ida is on the left side of the Pingala, on the right side, while Shushuma is in the middle. These three are known to be the paths of prana. Prana, apana, samana, udana, vyana, naga, kurma, krikara, devadatta, and Dhyana-Yaga. Of these, the first five are called pranas, etc., and the last five, naga, etc., are called vayus, or sub-pranas. All these are situated, or run along, the 1,000 nadis, being in the form of, or producing life. Jiv, which is under the influence of prana, in apana, goes up and down. Jiv, on the account of its ever moving by the left and right paths, is not visible. Just as a ball struck down on the earth with a bat of a hand that springs up, so jiva, ever tossed by prana and apana, is never at rest. He is the knower of yoga, who knows that prana always draws itself from apana, and apana draws itself from prana, like a bird drawing itself, yet not freeing itself from the string to which it's tied. The jiv comes out with the letter ha, and gets in again with the letter sa. Thus jiva always utters the mantra hamsa. Hamsa. The jiva always utters the mantra 21,600 times in one day and night. This is called ajapa gayatri. It is ever the bestower of nirvana to the yogis. Through its very thought, man is freed from sins. Neither in the past nor in the future is there a science equal to this, a japa equal to this, or a meteoros action equal to this. Parameshwari, the Kundalini Shakti, sleeps shutting with her mouth at the door which leads to the decayless Brahma hole. Being aroused by the contact of Agni with manas and prana, she takes the form of a needle and pierces up through the Shushmana. The yogi should open with great effort this door which is shut. He will then pierce the door of salvation by means of the Kundalini. Folding firmly the fingers of the hands, assuming firmly the Padma posture, placing the chin firmly on the breast and fixing the mind on dhyana. One should frequently rise up the apna, filling up with air and then leaving with prana. Then the wise man gets matchless wisdom through this Shakti. That yogi who assumes Padma posture worships a Vayu at the door of the nadis and then performs restraint of breath, is released without a doubt. Rubbing off the limbs of sweat arising from fatigue, abandoning all acid, bitter, and salty-ish food, taking delight in drinking of milk and rasa, practicing celibacy, being moderate in eating, ever bent on yoga, the yogi becomes a siddha, a little more than a year. No inquiry need to be made concerning the result. Kundalini Shakti, when it is up in the throat, makes the yogi get siddhi. The union of prana and apana has the extinction of being has the extinction of urine and feces. One becomes young even when old through performing mula badha always. Pressing the yogi by means of the heels and contracting the anus and drawing up the apana is called mula badha. Udayani badha is so called because it's like a great bird that flies up always without rest. One should bring the western part of the stomach above the navel. This Udahabadha is a lion to the elephant of death, since it binds the water or the nectar of Akasha, which arises from the head and flows down. The Jalanahara Badha is the destroyer of all pains of the throat. When this Jaladhara Badha, which is the destroyer of pains in the throat, is performed, then nectar does not fall on Agni, nor does Vayu move. When the tongue enters backwards in the hole of the skull, then there's a mudra of vision latent in the eyebrow called Keshari. He who knows the mudra Keshari has not disease, death, sleep, hunger, thirst, or swoon. He who practices this mudra is not affected by illness or karma, nor is he bound by the limitations of time. Since Chitta moves in the Akasha, and since the tongue has entered in the mudra, the hole in the mouth, therefore the mudra is called Keshari and worshipped by the cities. He whose hole is above the uvula is closed with the tongue backwards by the means of the Keshari mudra, never loses virility, even when embraced by a lovely woman. Where is the fear of death so long as the Bindu stays in the body? Bindu does not go out of the body, so as long as the Keshari mudra is practiced, even when the Bindu comes down to the spear of the perineum, it goes up, being prevented and forced up by violent effort through the Yoni mudra. This Bindu is twofold, white and red. The white one is called Shukla, and the red one is said to contain much rajas. The rajas, which stays in Yoni, is like the color of coral. The Bindu stays in the seat of the genital organs. The union of these two is very rare. Bindu is Shiv, and Rajas is Shakti. Bindu is the moon, and Rajas is the sun. Through the union, these two attain the highest body. When Rajas is roused up by agitating the Shakti through Vayu, which unites with the sun, thence is produced the divine form. Shukla being united with the moon and Raja with the sun, he is the knower of yoga who knows the proper mixture of these two, the cleansing of the accumulated refuse, the unification of the sun and moon, and the complete drying of rasas, or essence. This is called Mahamudra. Placing the chin on the breast and pressing the anus means that the left heel and seizing of the left toe, the extended right leg by the two hands. One should fill his belly with air and slowly exhale. This is called Mahamudra, the destroyer of sins of men. Now I shall give a description of Atman. In the seat of the heart is the lotus of 8 petals. In the center is Jivatma, in the form of the Jyotish, and atomic in size, moving in a circular line. In it located everything. In knows everything. It does everything. It does all these actions, attributing to everything, to its own power. Thinking I do, I enjoy, I am happy, I am miserable, I am blind, I am lame, I am deaf, I am mute, I am lean, I am stout, etc. When it rests on the eastern petal, of which it is white in color, then it has a mind, or is inclined to Dharma with bhakti. When it rests on the southeastern petal, which is of blood color, then it is inclined to sleep and laziness. When it rests on the southern petal, which is of Krishna, or black color, then it is inclined to hate and anger. When it rests on the southwestern petal, which is of Nila, a blue color, then it gets desire for sinful or harmful actions. When it rests on the western petal, which is of crystal color, then it's inclined to flirt and amuse. When it rests on the northwestern petal, which is of ruby color, then it has a mind to walk, rove, and be indifferent. When it rests on the northern petal, which is pita or yellow in color, when it is inclined to be happy and be loving. When it rests on the northeastern petal, which is of Vaidurya color, then it's inclined to amassing money, charity, and passion. When it stays in the interspace between any 2 petals, then it gets the wrath of arising from a disease generated through the disturbance of the equilibrium of vayu, bile, phlegm in the body. When it stays in the middle, then it knows everything, sings, dances, speaks, and is blissful. When the eye is pained after a day's work, then in order to remove its pain, it must make a first circular line that sinks in the middle. The first line is of the color of badhuka flower, or the basia. Then is the state of sleep. In the middle of the state of sleep is the state of dream. In the middle of the state of dream, it experiences the ideas of perception, Vedas, inference, possibility, sacred words, etc. Then there arises much fatigue. In order to remove this fatigue, it circles the second line and sinks in the middle. The second is of the color of an insect, of red or white color. Then it comes up to the state of dreamless sleep. During dreamless sleep, it has only the thought of connecting with the highest Lord alone. This is the state of the nature of the eternal wisdom. Afterwards, it attains the nature of the highest Lord. Then it makes a round of the third circle and sinks in the middle. The third circle is of the color of the ruby. When it comes to the state of Turiya, in Turiya there's only a connection of the Paramahatman. It attains the nature of eternal wisdom. Then one should gradually attain the quintessence of buddhi with self-control. Placing the manas in Atman, one should think of nothing else. Then causing the union of prana with apana, he concentrates his aim upon the whole universe, being of the nature of Atman. Then comes the state of Turiyatiyata. That's beyond the fourth. Then everything appears as bliss. He is beyond the pairs of happiness and pains. He stays here as long as he should wear his body. Then he attains the nature of the Paramahatman and attains emancipation through this means. This alone is the means of knowing Atman. When Vayu, or the breath, which enters the great hole associated with the hall where the four roads meet, gets into half of the well-placed triangle, then it is Achyuta, the indestructible scene. Above the aforesaid triangle, one should meditate on the 5 bija letters of the elements, pravritti, etc. Also the 5 pranas, the color of the bijas in their position. The letter Ya is the bija of prana and resembles the blue cloud. The letter Ra is the bija of Agni, is the apana and resembles the sun. The letter La is the bija of Pravritti and is of Vyana and resembles the Badhuka flower. The letter Va is the bija of Jiv or Vayu. It is of Ustana and is of the color of the conch. The letter Ha is the bija of Aksha and is the Samana in its color of crystal. Prana always in the heart, navel, nose, ear, foot, finger, and other places travels through the 72,000 nadis, stays in 28 crores of hair pores, and is yet the same everywhere. It is that which is called Jiv. One should perform the 3, expiration, etc., with firm will and great control, and drawing in everything with breath in slow degrees. He should bind prana and apana in the cave of the lotus of the heart and utter pranava, having contracted his throat and genital organ. From the Mulahara to the head is the Shushma, resembling the shining thread of the lotus. The nada is located in the spinal column. That sound from the middle resembles that of a conch, etc. When it goes in the hole of the akasha, it resembles that of a peacock. In the middle of the cave, the skull between the 4 doors shines Atman, like the sun in the day. Between the 2 bows in the Brahma hole, one should see Purusha and Shakti as his own Atman. Then his manas is absorbed there. The man attains Kaliveya, who understands the gems, moonlight, nada, bindu, and is the seat of the great Lord. Thus is the Upanishad. Om. May he protect us both together. May he nourish us both together. May we work conjointly with great energy. May our study be vigorous and effective. May we not mutually dispute. Om. Let there be peace in me. Let there be peace in my environment. Let there be peace in the forces that act upon me.